NNF After Dark is brought to you by Sandpiper Vacations. For all of your vacation planning needs, visit www.sandpipervacations.com. Tell them that the No New Friends podcast sent you. Welcome to NNF After Dark. Chris is going to take you through the highlights of the previous episode and maybe even say some bad words, plus celebrity interviews and much, much more. And now, here he is, the scumbag reselling hoarder himself, Chris Yob.
I'm back. Welcome to No New Friends After Dark. Nick, you did a hell of a job last week. I can't even go on with my intro because you did a hell of a job last week.
Well, because my intro is quick, so that's why it was really good.
Yeah,
it was really quick.
I'm keeping mine quick because I don't want to lose my job because I know I don't do many things better than you, Nick, and by many I mean probably everything. I don't do better than you. So I need to try to be perfect today because I don't want to lose my job to you, although it would be an honor. I just don't want to do that because this is the only thing I have going for me right now.
It was a pleasure. It was fun.
It was. I'm sure you guys had a great time without me. I'm sure you guys had a really good time without me. You ever see that meme with Squidward just looking at SpongeBob and Patrick playing outside, and he's just at the window just looking out there sad? That's how I felt last week, guys. Just 6 hours ahead of you. I was in Germany last week. I was 6 hours ahead of you. I did place a lot of sports bets because I did know things 6 hours before they were going to happen in the United States. And I did make a very large sum of money. I made a lot of money, Scott. Yeah, I did.
Good for you, man.
I'm just kidding. I can't make money right now. I can't spend anything because the underwriters are watching my accounts. But anyway. Mortgage problems. What are we doing? No New Friends After Dark. Welcome back to No New. Listen, I've been gone for too long, man. It's been a long time. But we're back, and that's all that matters. I am here in virtual studios, the virtual studio of Sandpiper Vacations,
the Sandpiper Vacation
Studios, alongside a long virtual side with Scott from the No New Friends podcast.
Here we go.
Nick from Sandpiper, and we have a special guest tonight. That's why I want to keep this intro a little short, because I got to introduce our special guest.
Well, you failed miserably. That ship sailed.
Yeah, well, it's short for me anyway. I think everything I do is short. I think we've established that. We have Scott Fullerton from the Left of Str8 podcast with us tonight. Scott, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me on, Chris. I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for taking the time out. Thank you for waiting to come on. Oh my gosh, we had a very, very long episode. Scott is very short at some things. He's very long at telling stories.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, his wife wishes he's long at other things, but hey,
that is true.
We're not all perfect. So Scott, super excited to have you on tonight. Tell us a little bit about your podcast. What's your podcast about?
My podcast is primarily entertainment. I do interviews with people from entertainment, foodies. I'm a huge Food Network watcher, music and books, and advocacy from time to time. So I've had some great people like Lonnie Anderson on before from WKRP in Cincinnati. A lot of fun. Different people. I had Pete Buttigieg on when he was running for president back in the day.
Wow.
So that was exciting. So
he's like my hero. I love that guy.
He is amazing. He has the retort he has it down pat. So anybody.
He's one of those. I have a list, Scott. I have a list of people that I would go gay for. Kevin James, JJ Redick, and Pete Buttigieg. So
I think you have what we call a type.
I know. Apparently I didn't make that list, but next time.
Well, Nick, you're a real person in my life. I can't openly admit that.
So that's basically it. I kind of do different interviews with people. Been doing it I just had my 8-year anniversary 2 days ago.
Oh my gosh!
Amazing.
Wow.
Doing
Ask you how long you've been doing it?
8 years, forever.
Wow.
I took 2 years off for COVID. 1 year because of entertainment was shut down. Nobody was doing anything.
Right.
And 1 year, because once you get off the horse, it's hard to get back on there. So it took me another year to get motivated to get back on there again. But came back in March in my 6th season. But like I said, I happened to start my first episode on July 2nd, which was exactly 1 week after marriage equality became the law of the land at the Supreme Court. And my very first guest was one of the plaintiffs in that case, along with another voiceover actor that was huge in marriage equality in California. So it was a good start. I enjoyed it.
Oh, geez, very cool. Well, happy anniversary. That was just a few days ago. Geez, well, so 8 years. Wow, it's first of all, your podcast is something super, super important that you do, and thank you for doing that. That's amazing that you've been doing it, what you do for so long. That's just so cool. I guess the first question I have for you: how do you build up the courage to get these huge guests on? It's amazing, these names that you've just been throwing out at us. And how do you know people? Do you just reach out to them? How does that work?
Well, it's different now. I mean, I'm old. When you started 8 years ago, social media was still relatively new, not overly. So you could actually reach out to people on Instagram and Twitter, and they'd talk back to you. And especially my guests are both LGBT and straight allies, but especially LGBT entertainment people have enough time getting press and everything to begin with. So it was very easy when you reached out at first over social media and says, hey, I'd like to give you this national radio platform, even though I didn't have that many listeners at the time. It's like, sure, I'll take any gig I can get to get on the air. So it was relatively easy the first couple years. Then as everybody started getting social media handlers and people running their accounts for them, then it was a little more difficult, but then I started getting known well enough where I would actually have PR people that I had worked with for some of their clients before contact me. So now it's a good mix of both. I'm still trolling Instagram weekly to try to find some new guests, and there's still a lot of LGBTQ content that have their emails right on their Instagram profiles. And I have a good mix of publicists that will reach out.
Wow, that's amazing. It's
that podcast goals right there, Chris.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh my gosh, don't give Scott any ideas. I'm gonna have to have more jobs.
Right? Yeah,
trolling Instagram.
I'll just be stalking more people on Instagram.
I know. Scott's gonna have less in a life than he did yesterday. So you touch on a little bit of everything with your podcast, which is super fun. We do the same thing, but we touch on a lot of nothing with our podcast. No, but
I wouldn't say mine doesn't turn into nothing by the end of the interview, but we start out with good intentions. There's good intentions all the way around.
So what your podcast does, our Sunday episodes are a lot of humor and just, navigating life together. And then No New Friends After Dark, like we like to say, is kind of like peeling back the curtains of life. And that's what we've kind of found with this show is getting to more of the hard-hitting things and kind of the more real things, joking about it at the same time, keeping that humor. But, we can't hide from all this real stuff that goes on in our lives. So why not talk and laugh about it, right? So what is I've really come to love talking about some of the more serious stuff, and this has almost become therapy for me, Scott, and Nick. It's nice.
I don't need therapy. I'm fine.
We've learned that's very not true, actually. Last few months.
The opposite.
Scott might
probably need more help than anybody.
But you know what? We found a lot of fun, I guess you'd say, because it's nice to be able to talk, the three of us, on a weekly basis about things that we don't talk about on a normal basis, that we might not feel comfortable talking about, that we might not feel the opportunity to talk about, whether it be a coming out story, whether it be anxiety, depression, whatever it is. It's nice to be able to, the three of us come along and talk about this stuff. And actually with Nick coming on, me and Scott have been, co-hosts on the No New Friends podcast for a while now. Nick came on and we've all gotten close like very quickly. And we just have this nice little just chemistry where we just open up to each other. It's really nice. And being able to connect with our audience, I think, is the most special part about this. And hearing that they can relate to us and they feel comfortable about, maybe coming out or talking about depression or anxiety. Now, this long story long, we just recently discovered that we like to talk about this stuff, and it's nice. You've been doing this for 8 years. What subjects and things, reoccurring themes on your show have you found that you like talking about the most, and why? Is it for comedy purposes? Is it for being able to touch someone? What is that?
Well, it's kind of a mix of things. I mean, it's primarily an entertainment show, so we try to keep it on the lighthearted. But I have had some serious subjects, like with Pete Buttigieg on. We were talking about some serious things that were happening against the nation. The first show, marriage equality, was really important to talk about that. I have had different guests over the years that have kind of all have their own certain causes. So we've talked about everything from the importance of having role models and big brothers and big sisters for the LGBTQ community. That's very important, to being able to have safe places to go. I mean, there's, as you say, there's so many things happening right now that's almost going backwards. We had to talk a couple of weeks ago about them wanting to take safe place stickers down at schools in Minnesota. I mean, they just don't have safe places anymore. So there's a lot of serious things we will talk about, but we try to keep it as lighthearted as possible.
And Scott, that I feel like that is what's driving us right now. To shift the whole point of this show to a different direction is because I live in Florida. So you see how kind of bad it is in Florida for the LGBTQ plus community. And it's like every time it was funny, we did an episode where we were celebrating the gay culture, and it was just this great thing, and I said, well, we've got to bring some reality to this, because we just made it seem like everything's fine. Everything's sunshine, rainbows and unicorns and glitter and all that. And it is. But every step forward that we take 2 steps back, because now we've got all of this religious indoctrination. We've got, the parental rights or don't say gay bill, all those things that are hurting the LGBTQ plus community are taking.
And even last week, with the Supreme Court dealing with LGBT issues.
Last week was a bad week for everybody across the country.
Yeah. And I think that's our driving force right now, is to look, we can't just sit back and call ourselves allies by wearing the colors. We have to actually do something to make a change and bring education to exactly what's going on. Nick made this statement in his coming out story that really has just sunk in and hit home. And I reference this a lot when I'm telling people about our podcast, is he says he's got to come out every single day of the week. Every time he goes outside and is holding his husband's hand, he's got to come out all over again. And it's like, man, I just want to get to the place where it's just like, who cares? Who cares who you love? Who cares? It doesn't impact my life. It impacts my life because Nick's my friend and I want Nick to be happy, but why should anybody who is not necessarily understanding of the LGBTQ plus community, what difference does it make to them is like kind of my point. But
no,
anyway, that's our whole purpose right now. Our whole drive is just really educating people on how dangerous and how bad things are right now.
Right. And Nick knows more than us. I'm sure he's from Columbus. Columbus was actually at one time the number 3 largest gay city in the country. I mean, behind San Francisco and New York. So it was a huge gay population in Columbus, and it's gone through good and bad. I mean, there was problems they've had in the past with different things, but it's getting a little better in a lot of aspects. And Nick would be able to talk a lot more than that. But it's a different community. Each different state has their own set of challenges. Like you said, Florida has huge challenges right now.
And I think that's something that's great that we've been discussing, is because we're all from different areas of the country. And even though you guys are straight guys, like, these aren't topics that typically you'd pay attention to. Even though you guys are allies, you have gay friends, it's not something that may stand out to you or may pop up on your social media feed. Like it does with me.
It does now.
So, yeah.
It does now. Yeah, it does now.
Florida allows that. You don't block it.
Yeah.
No. I put a California address in there. That's
got you.
It's seeping through.
So, Scott, you've been doing this for 8 years. What keeps you doing it? Like, what makes you? 8 years is a long time, man. And that, like, what keeps you going? Is it the message you're trying to send? Is that, or is it the love of broadcasting? What is it?
It's really a mix. It started out primarily as a love of broadcasting. I started the show because my father got really ill 8 years ago. So I had to move home to take care of him. And he was sleeping half the day. I needed something to do to spend my time. And I was I was the chairman of my Pride Center, local Pride Center here for 3 years. So I was already an LGBTQ advocate. I started listening to some other podcasts at the time and just thought it might be something interesting and fun to do to pass the time. And with that quasi early success of getting to talk to a lot of people, it does get to be just a fun time to broadcast. I mean, you know how it is. It's fun to get with these guys every week, right? And just talk about different things and just shoot the shit and have a little bit of fun, right? So that's a lot of it. And then it comes when you get to these important issues, that just is kind of the icing on the cake. When you get those, they're few and far between. You guys know you'll get those messages every once in a while with someone step out and that really helped me. Thank you so much for that. And that one little message can keep you going for 6 months, right? Yeah. Depending on how it happens. So I've had just enough of those to really keep you going, oh, that's why I do this too. So that's really important to me. Like I said, it was hard though. I mean, once you stop, I mean, you know, just from 2 weeks on vacation when COVID hit and I took those 2 years off, it was a hard slog to get back into it again. And when COVID started, because nobody was doing anything, everybody was off work, trapped in the house, I brought my show up to 5 days a week instead of my normal 2.
Wow.
So I was doing content after content after content. And I think I kind of burnt myself out a little bit near the end when things were just really shutting down. And then it was like, I think that's what I remembered trying to start up again. Those 5 days was so hard. And then so I eased myself back into it this year, and I'm really enjoying it again.
Was the theme of your podcast always, it was always named Left of Str8 then, right? Your podcast?
It was always named very tongue-in-cheek. I mean, not quite there, just a little bit left of Str8. I kind of said it, I was doing a lot of news articles, it's like news from a slightly different angle, just trying to kind of play off the words a little bit for it. So that was primarily behind it.
The reason I'm asking is because you started this 8 years ago. Was it difficult to start like an LGBTQ plus friendly broadcast 8 years ago?
There wasn't many of them at the time. There was probably about 5 to 10 that were, maybe 5 that were popular, 10 that were getting decent plays. So it was relatively new to find a big LGBTQ audience. And they were primarily in the entertainment field, which is where I started. But there wasn't too many for serious news. There wasn't many in a lot of different genres that we see now, just out of necessity. And now a lot of people have found when podcasting blew up so much, you found a lot of comedians get into it. And a lot of different people really start to join the fray. So it's really broadened the community a bit. And now there's a lot to listen to, which is really nice to see out there.
4.1 million podcasts, to be exact.
Jeez. I didn't start listening until about 2-3 years ago to podcasts. So the fact that you've been around that long and continuing, that's amazing.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's but just the fact that you've been pushing the positive message that you've been pushing for so long is amazing. I'm like me and Scott, we're both, you know, we're straight guys doing this podcast with Nick.
Well, and we Chris is partially. Chris wavers. His percentage of gayness is all over the place.
It varies from week to week. Yeah, seeing Nick in this tank top, it goes a little higher.
There you go.
I haven't seen him in a couple of weeks.
I was feeling overdressed when I came on. But okay, we're good. I'm not representing the gays well. We got the tank top going on there. I mean, at least I could have crop topped it or something to make it a little exciting.
Scott's actually wearing something not floral for a change too. So
I know. Yeah. It's so hot here that I can't have the extra layers of clothing right now. I usually wear like a button-up floral shirt, real like the uglier the better. And Nick says your gay percentage is going up a little bit, but also not really because your fashion sense sucks.
My fashion sense isn't there. So, but Scott, I was listening to some of your podcasts recently, and I know you had for those of you that probably don't know who Del Shores is on your podcast. And for me, Del Shores is a huge deal because I love Sordid Lives and the reboot of it and the TV show, and just hearing that name for me and the gay community, it's a well-known name. Tell the straight guys, I guess, who Del Shores
sorry.
Del Shores was one of my original guests and has since become a very good friend. We actually hang out whenever I'm in LA. But he is a writer of plays and a director of plays and producer of plays. And his shows were so kind of universal that he would draw a huge straight ally cast with it. We had Delta Burke was in the TV series for it. We had Olivia Newton-John was in the original movie for it.
Oh, wow.
Whoopi Goldberg did a cameo in the last movie for his series. So he's had this series called Sordid Lives that's been going throughout these years now, but it attracts such a wide, diverse view of characters. And Del is just an amazing writer, and he teaches writing. I go to his writing workshops that he does, and he just started his own foundation now where he's looking for up and coming queer writers from the South. And so I've been going on a couple of his Zoom calls when he's teaching these classes. And it's just amazing to see some of the talent out there writing plays and everything. But Del has just been a huge force in LGBTQ playwriting. And since that's turned into movies and other things as well. So it's been a great, great, great person. He works so well with the community and with allies. He takes no junk from anybody too. He'll get right up in your face and is take no prisoners kind of guy, which I like. So yeah, he's been a great friend.
I say for me as a gay guy, I didn't watch Sordid Lives until probably later on, many years after it came out, and to see those big name stars, and like I knew Leslie Jordan because Leslie Jordan was one of the main characters in it, and he was on Will and Grace at the time, and that's where I think I got drawn into Sordid Lives and saw Olivia Newton-John, just the fun gay stories. So for the straight guys out there, there's a lot of good movies and content out there that's for the gay community. For us, it's a big deal to have these movies that might not have played on the big screen back in the day, but now we're finally getting that exposure too. So.
Well, and Leslie Jordan was so underrated at the time. He was doing most of Del's work. He was just a hardworking character actor at the time. He starred in a bunch of Del's shows, and then he went on and did, during the pandemic, just blew up on social media. Now everybody knows who Leslie Jordan is, right? I mean, he got some fame with his with Will and Grace, as you said, and everything, but he just totally blew up during the pandemic, and he's been best friends with Del since way back in the day, did one of Del's very first plays. So Del has done some amazing tributes. In fact, I'm going in October to LA when they're presenting Leslie Jordan with a star on the Walk of Fame in Palm Springs.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
Del's
awesome.
presenting that. He invited me down to come to that. So we're going to see there. But they've done tributes for Leslie everywhere. They had a tribute for him in his hometown in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And they had a huge, every star in the world turned out. The LA LGBT Center just did a huge gala for him. They made him honorary Grand Marshal of this year's Pride Parade in LA. So he's just blown up in such the great ways. And so Del was able to watch that, and it still wasn't enough for Del because he was just Leslie's best friend, true and true.
Yeah.
But it was great to see.
Aw. Yeah, you said he blew up over during the pandemic. I knew his face, but I didn't really know what he did or anything. But that's when I knew it from his all those funny TikToks that he'd make and all those ridiculously. This just make me laugh. It's one of those voices you needed during those really dark times. Just as soon as he popped up on your newsfeed, your day turned around a little bit. He was just that.
Well, he was so funny. He was well known in West Hollywood. He lived in the same apartment in West Hollywood forever, little small apartment. And he would go get his Starbucks coffee about at least once a week, if not many more times a week. And he would do his little shtick with all the little gay boys that walk by and just kind of turn their little butt in a bit. And when I was talking to Del a couple of weeks ago, one of the stories is Leslie had finally taken this fame because he'd never did anything with it himself. He always kind of sent money back to his mom and his sisters in Chattanooga. And he had just bought his very first condo, this really nice condo, right before he passed away and never got to move into it. Oh. So a very sad story, but it was just to see that how he spent the money all these years before that, doing it so wisely. So I wish I could.
Wow.
He was the one person in the Sordid Lives family that I didn't meet. I got to meet most of the others. He was also best friends with Olivia Newton-John and went out to see her a couple weeks before she passed. So yeah.
Wow! Wow! You bring up the name allies a lot, Scott, and we talk about being allies a lot on this podcast, and our definition of ally and how we're trying to be better allies. But especially in today's day and age in 2023, how important is it to be an ally? Like, what is it? What does that say? You being an ally to the LGBTQ plus community?
I think Nick will agree. An ally is more important than being part of the LGBTQ community right now. We need that outside support. We have just so much of the population. We have a good spending block. They like to spend our dollars, as it shows with the rainbow washing of Pride Month. But as far as support for legislation and things like that, you don't really find that quite as often. So allies are just so important, just to be there to support each other. I mean, I love my allies to give me a lot of grief. I like them giving me gay jokes and being funny. It doesn't mean that you're just totally straight, stick up your butt and nothing about it. I mean, there's a lot of funny aspects of the gay culture that we like to enjoy.
Including sticks up butt. No, sorry.
I've only taught them gay 101 so far. We haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh, okay. We haven't got the advanced classes yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've learned a little bit about bears, and they've learned what the bears
like
are.
The advanced classes.
If they can sit through the PowerPoint prepresentation, they'll make it fine. But that's a little rough. I don't know.
Nick is like the advanced classes in person. So
he keeps making me retake them in person. I don't know why.
Chris, you didn't quite pass. So let's take it.
I thought it was because I was
Take it
bad,
again.
but maybe I'm starting to think maybe because I'm really good. But Scott, I'm glad you said that. Poking fun at the gay, being gay and this and that, because I feel like being in comedy, a comedy podcast, and I just feel like when you make fun of somebody, it's the ultimate sign of respect. Like, it's that mutual, like, that's equality right there. Is when you make fun of somebody out of respect, like we do on this podcast. It's like, that's in my opinion, like, if someone's roasting me, it's the ultimate sign of respect. No one's making fun of me on this podcast anyway. That actually means what they're saying, and they're doing it to hurt me.
I mean, you're short and you put on a lot of weight. Okay, these jokes are based in truth, buddy.
But it's like, I love the joking between, because it just shows that it's that respect, and it's that kind of like I look at you as an equal, and that's why I can make fun of you, and that's why you can make fun of me, and we can laugh together because we're both equal, no matter who we voted for or what, we're gay or not gay or black or white, it doesn't matter, because we both respect each other, and I love that you said that, because I'm a firm believer in making fun of people that you respect mutually,
You're going to have those disagreements. You're going to have different parts. I mean, one of my favorite guests to have on is a gay black comedian, Samson. So he's already got a couple minorities in there, but he recently kind of not made fun of, but just didn't really understand the whole pronoun situation. To him, that's just kind of really bizarre. I understand where he's coming from. I think that's not a debate that I necessarily want to have. I understand and respect him for the people that feel it's very necessary for him. But I do understand where there's debate on that, right? So even amongst our own community, we have issues that we are strongly support, and things that we're like, yeah, okay, I'll support you on that, but I think it's a little funny. But he's basically on the canceled section of being LGBT and a comedian and black for not agreeing with pronouns specifically. So it's a fine line for everybody. It's very easy for any of us to watch where we're stepping, I guess.
Sure.
Scott, that's so interesting because as not being in the LGBTQ plus community, I guess the outside perception is that everybody supports everybody. Everybody knows everything. And I'm learning more and more. Like, I'll ask Nick, hey, what is pansexual? And he's like, I have no idea. Or maybe a bad example, he may know, but there's different aspects, and then there's also different opinions and different viewpoints on that, and that's interesting. And I'm not looking to debate the viewpoints on that. To me, I'm going to support any. It doesn't impact my life whatsoever. I'm going to support what's going to make people happy, and if that means calling themselves they, them, or he, she, whatever, it doesn't bother me. But it's just so interesting that, again, we just assume, and Chris, maybe you don't think the same way, but we just assume that everybody knows every letter of the LGBT. Anybody in the community understands each letter.
People also think every gay guy knows every gay guy. too.
Right, exactly. Right?
Well, you do.
But
You do.
it is about it's the 2 degrees of separation. So.
No, I think Chris said it best, where it's just like the respect. As long as you're talking in respect, you can have disagreements and agree to disagree on certain things of parts of any community, I would think. But if you're doing it with respect and so forth, I think it comes across as honest and authentic. So I think as long as you're authentic and respectful, you should be able to have these kind of debates. And like I said, we don't know what. I have no experience to what a trans person's like. I can't think of that in my headspace. I don't know what that's like for a trans man or woman to experience that. I respect them for it and I support them 100% on it. But I have no idea what that feels like, just like you guys really don't have any idea. We're all, unless it's happening to you, it's not going to be in our vocabulary or just in our understanding sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we go to break, I do want to talk about something that I talked a little bit to Nick and Scott about in our Facebook Messenger chat when I was over in Germany. I just wanted to kind of get your all your guys' opinions on it on air. So when I went to Germany, I visited the concentration camp over there, and they talked about after the war was over, everything went back to normal, right? So they're saying the card-carrying Nazis were no longer Nazis anymore, just like that, right? So obviously they still had their views and their hate and everything. And the guy turns to us and asks, he goes, "So what changes that? What gets rid of that?" And no one answered. Like, well, I don't know. And they said the new generation, when they start questioning the older generation, when they start questioning, why did you do this? Why did you do that? So that got me really thinking with the LGBTQ plus community, because me, being a millennial, or am I a millennial, right, Scott? Am I a millennial? Yeah, I'm a millennial.
Yes.
All right, I can claim that now,
like
because
the
Gen
end of
Z is
that.
the bad one now. Yeah, Gen Z is the bad one, so I can say millennial now. Millennial
No,
used to be the bad one.
Gen Z is better.
No.
Gen Z is better.
Oh my gosh. Are you senile, Scott?
It's my old age.
So anyway.
Okay, boomer. No, wait.
So that got me thinking, because as a millennial, I most of my friends, I can't say all my friends, but most of my friends think the same way I do. It's just like, who cares if someone's gay? Seriously, who cares? And that really got me thinking with what I heard when I was over in Germany, a person saying about Nazism, which is, again, another form of hate towards minority groups. With generations, it gave me hope, because I'm like, with generations, that slowly goes away. Will it ever go completely away? I doubt that, because people are crazy, But it did give me hope, and I just kind of wanted to know your guys' thoughts on that. Do you think that as these, we see progress through generations, and are you seeing that as part of the LGBT plus community or outside of it, Scott?
Well, I think it's interesting. I think it's always bubbling there. Like you said, I don't think you're ever going to get rid of it. It's just, I see remarkable kind of parallels between the charismaticness of one president 6 years ago being able to change so much in 6 years, and one charismatic leader of Nazi Germany back in the day being able to change so many minds. I think it's always maybe bubbling beneath the surface, and it just takes the right spark, the right match to start that fire, and it's always going to be down there. And you're right, the young people are the only ones that are going to be able to extinguish that, and that's just going to take time. There's just no quick answer to it. I've seen the progress over years. I'm of a certain age, so I've been able to see many generations change, and there's a lot of hope out there for the younger people. But I think it still just takes one. I just read something the other day. There was a stat that came out the other day from, I think it was GLAAD that did it. It might have been someone else, which is our Gay Lesbian Defense Fund. I believe they said in 1 year for Republicans, the view of same-sex couples went down 15% from 2022 to 2023. In Republican, in Democrats, it went down 6%. So in both things, it went down. And I think that just has to do with all the rhetoric being said over and over and over again.
Right.
And the more you repeat it and don't stand up to it, the more it's going to spread. So I think it's going to be hard to get rid of it, but I think we have to find people like the young to do a counter message. I don't know what Nick saw. I'd love to hear what Nick has to say about it.
Yeah, no, I actually listened to that episode that you talked about these statistics as well too, and it's awesome having support from people like Scott and Chris that are putting it on this platform. And I say this every week too, but having this opportunity to talk about the gay community and our struggles, and that we're not anywhere close to being normal in a sense.
Right.
The fact that, and I always answer my own question. The fact that I have to ask the question, hey, are things getting better? It like answers the question. Right. The fact that we feel it necessary to bring so much education about what's going on just shows that it's not getting any better. In fact, it's getting worse right now. I think at some point we were maybe getting better, but again, from an outsider point of view, but again, is that because I wasn't seeing it mainstream in the news as much because it didn't affect me, and now because I am paying attention to it, I'm seeing how bad it is. I don't know.
And also just self-reflecting, I do say that, millennials don't care if you're gay and this, and I think that maybe I should change the verbiage on that, because I almost feel like, because that's how I feel. Like, I don't care if you're gay or not. I don't care if you're straight or not, but maybe I should care if you're gay. You know what I mean? Instead of saying I don't care, I should say I do care and I support you, because it's almost like at one point you could say, "Oh, I'm colorblind. I don't see color," and that was okay. You know what I mean? That was the good thing to say. And now it's like, oh,
wait, is that not okay?
Scott chooses to be colorblind.
Okay, boomer.
But like reflecting back on even what I say is like, I think I could be more supportive by saying, no, I actually do care if you're gay, but because I support you, I want you to know that I care, and instead of saying, oh, I don't care if you're gay or not, and it's I don't know, I feel like self-reflection is just what will help make everything slightly better, not perfect, but better, and more of a right step towards where we want to be. So, but interesting thoughts on all this, though.
Yeah, it's definitely almost the combination of what you're saying as far as not really caring that anyone is gay, but what Scott's saying, once you know someone, though, you take that extra step. Once you know someone who's gay, then you fight for their equality, for their marriage. You fight for it. So, like you said, it's great for someone to not care about your rights and everything, but it's even better when they support those and voice it and are vocalized for it. So you're both right on that, 100%.
It's hard. I take a lot of things for granted. I'm living in New Jersey. Everything to me is all sunshines and rainbows. Everything's great up here for the LGBTQ plus community. You know what I mean? Like, there's like, every town you go to here has got the rainbow flags, the updated ones too. Oh my God! God forbid if there's a late model, last year's model on the flagpole. They're all updated here. And it's everywhere you go in New Jersey. It's like you really have to go to the middle of the woods to see, some bigotry or, borderline bigotry. And it's I take it for granted because I'm thinking to me everything's fine. You know what I mean? And being straight, everything's fine. On even more so because I don't experience anything that someone of the LGBT community would experience. So it's like, it's hard for me. So that's why I do like these little resets weekly when I talk to Nick and Scott. When I hear what's going on with Florida, when I hear what's going on in Nick's life, it kind of resets me thinking, okay, this fight is long but over. You know what I mean? Like, this is just the beginning. And I'm happy to come on here on a weekly basis and kind of keep on fighting for equality, really.
That's all we can ask. We appreciate it, believe me.
But anyway, we have so much more to get to when we come back. This is No New Friends After Dark. See you in a second. There are 3 things that I hate in life: taxes, nausea, and booking vacations. The first 2 I'm stuck with, but for the third, I use Sandpiper Vacations. Sandpiper Vacations is a small business that is LGBTQ plus owned and operated with travel advisors all over the country. Whether it's a cruise, a trip to a theme park, or an all-inclusive resort, Sandpiper has you covered. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it's free. Why book a vacation when you can have someone else do it for you? That's like choosing to take the stairs in a building that has an elevator. Leave the headaches of booking a vacation to someone else. Get your quote today at www.sandpipervacations.com and tell them that the No New Friends podcast sent you.
Hey everybody, it's Scott from the No New Friends podcast. If you'd like to hear all of our episodes, all of our past episodes, just visit our website, nonewfriendspodcast.com. All of our links to all of our old episodes are there. If you didn't understand an inside joke or just wanted to re-listen to something, just check it out. It's nonewfriendspodcast.com, or you can check us out on all streaming platforms.
All right, I hope you really enjoyed those ads. We are back. We're back with No New Friends After Dark. Hope you missed me. I missed you. To Scott.
We didn't miss the long intros and the...
No. Still learning. It's only my 12th week on the job.
This is the 19th week on the job.
That's surprising. Time flies when you're having somewhat of fun. So, so Scott, we've been doing this for, I guess Scott just said 19 weeks. And you've been doing this for 8 years, which is a lot more than 19 weeks. So we have gotten those messages, like you said, of encouragement saying, oh, you helped me through, be more open or this or that. I've gotten a few of them, and they really make what we do even better. Over the course of the 8 years, have you ever gotten like any opposite messages? And how have you dealt with those if you ever have?
It doesn't happen that often. Surprisingly. I'm surprised. I've had a couple.
Well, thank goodness, first of all.
Yeah, exactly. But I've been on the social media for most of the entire time. I was never a huge social media in the beginning of it. I've now kind of learned to accept it a bit. And also I was not a video podcast. I was an audio podcast for the first 5 seasons. So I think it wasn't as controversial, I guess, just to say things and people seeing people say it. I was just hearing if they had to listen to it and want to disagree with you, right? So I didn't have that. There was never a big controversy. I think I kind of steered one time. I created another podcast on my network called Standing on My Soapbox, which I did for about 6 months. And that was just a basically rant, rave, and review show where I ran about things. And I try to keep that open to politics in general with an occasional LGBT thing. I did go on an LGBT rant. At the time, it was something about a school district and the dress code or something. And I just remember it kind of blew up a little bit. So one time, or something blew up to a negative way, but it really blew over relatively quickly. And it's like, I've never had a boycott or anything like that happen. No.
Oh, well, that's good. So you don't really have anyone ever writing in saying hateful things?
Not too much.
Surprisingly, neither do we, Chris. It's weird.
I know, because I'm trying.
We say a lot of offensive things.
The reason I'm asking, I'm trying to prepare myself. Like, how am I going to get over that? I have had one instance of getting a hate comment from somebody that was in college. I wrote for the school paper. And I was getting a little bored writing just opinion pieces on the Phillies. So Nick, that's a baseball team. Baseball is a sport. With yes,
they have the tight pants and the cup.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'll teach you how to catch when we hang out.
Some of them have pinstripe costumes.
It's really cute. I'll show you. So I was like, let me just start writing very opinionated pieces, right wing and then left wing, and then like alternate weekly. So I'd like write a very why we need the Second Amendment, and then the next week I wrote I remember the title was Christopher Columbus was a terrorist, and and I wrote this article, and there was a social media called Yik Yak where people would just talk shit on this, and I made Yik Yak. And it was it was a highlight for me, and until it really got really dark, and that's when I kind of eased up on the opinion pieces. But yeah, I'm trying to prepare myself for this because we do talk a lot about. Well, if you've listened to the episodes, Scott did make I don't think the over/under on the Titan submarine jokes was at 6.5 last week, Scott. And I think you went over. Yeah, I wasn't a part of that one, so I can't. I would not be involved. I do remember listening to that while trying to go to bed, and my jaw was. I couldn't fall asleep because my jaw just kept dropping. But anyway, speaking about offensive things, there was a very offensive Supreme Court ruling this week, and I wanted to get all of your opinions on that. I have a different opinion, but that's why I want to kind of talk about this, because my opinion's not really one that I believe in, but that I that I can see both sides type opinion. So I kind of want to get your opinion, and of course what I'm talking about is the ruling that basically you can discriminate against somebody for religious beliefs. For being a same-sex couple as part of a business transaction. So anyone wants to take the floor, please go ahead, because I'll go last. So
okay, real quick. Mm-hmm. I've got mixed opinions on it because one, as for me personally, I would never discriminate against anybody for any type of race, color. Mm-hmm. Who they love, whatever.
Yeah.
However, as a private business owner, I mean, I would think that you have the right to refuse service to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it sucks that it's just targeted towards one community, and I think that that's a little bit BS. And it just, she's going to have half the country now boycotting her.
Right. Right. Which is good. Which is good.
Which is good, which is fine. It makes me sick because I don't have that opinion, but it's like, on the other hand, and I think, Chris, it's probably the same angle you're going to take on this. It's like, as a private business, if you don't want to, when mask mandates were a big thing, if you don't want to let someone in who is not wearing a mask, you have the right to do that.
Right.
And
I guess
so it's tough.
Oh yeah, I'll piggyback on you because that's exactly what I was going to play devil's advocate and say. As a business owner, I don't know if the government telling you what to do in any case is a good alternative to the opposite. Now, again, from a moral standpoint, that's horrible. But in a society where we have a free market, I think it's great that people will boycott companies that. You will never go to that Moon Cricket Grill, Scott. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
Like, they did something horrible, and you will never, because and you'll go somewhere else, right? So, that person that refused service, listen, you're not. People are going to boycott that person. Hopefully, they go out of business. Hopefully, they lose everything. You know what I mean? I don't know if the government saying you need to do business with this person, no matter who it is a good idea, because where does that stop? And I don't know. So does it stop there? Then maybe if it stopped there, where it says you can't refuse someone business because they're gay, then I think I would agree with that, right? But where does it stop? And I guess that's where the ruling.
And the crazy
from.
thing to me is, it's like, she brought it to the Supreme Court before there was even an issue. Right. Like that's the thing is, like, no, there wasn't this turmoil between her and a gay couple over this website. It was this hypothetical thing. She was suing for something that hadn't even happened to her yet.
Yeah. See,
am I correct in that? Yeah. It's just another Karen. I mean, like I said, I stand behind my, like, look, if you have a private business, you're allowed to refuse whatever service you want. Should it be like this? No. But whatever.
It's weird because because morals and law is just so weird. Because I wish this case was to a German Puerto Rican 5'6" person with glasses, and they refused it because of that. Because I would have taken the same side. You know what I mean? I'd be like, okay, that's fucked up. But should the government be forcing them to do business with me? Probably not. Right? I'm sad that it had to have been someone in the gay community because of religion. That's what I'm sad about. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm sad that it's a gay, not gay thing. Like, that's what makes me sad about this.
Right.
I know. I just understand. Go ahead, Scott.
Go ahead, Nick. You go. No, you go first. Go ahead.
I don't understand why it got to the point of the Supreme Court. I didn't follow. Mm-hmm. I didn't really follow the whole story, and I didn't read into it much because I was leaving got out of town the same day that everything was happening. There was multiple rulings that came out that day that I know were not great for America. It wasn't a great 4th of July because of that, but I just don't know why these issues are getting to the Supreme Court to begin with.
Right.
Like you said, like they should have the right to refuse.
That's the biggest thing. That's where the controversy is starting to evolve now, because the case was predicated on her having to build a website for this gay couple, and it's against her religious belief because she doesn't believe in gay marriage. So the first thing we found out, and as Nick probably knows, as part of the gay mafia, no one would ever do a site from her because it's ugly as hell. She doesn't do a good website. So if they're not that cool, a gay person would not want to go there in the first place. Second thing they found out was that the person she listed as asking her for this was a straight man married to a wife and a child that was supposedly who asked for this website, who she listed in this lawsuit. So it wasn't even a real person that this was done. So how it got this far was incredible to begin with. I totally understand the point. No shoes, no shirts, no service. I'm all for that. I understand that you have the right to refuse service for certain things. I understand maybe before marriage was the law of the land that you might be able to do it on religious grounds. But now that it's legal and you are a legal marriage in the state and you are a business open to the public, where does that kind of stop? Why can you discriminate that? And how do you get that to stop against, I don't want to do Yom Kippur brownies because I don't believe in the Jewish faith? Where do you find that line? It is a very fine line. I understand there is maybe a line there somewhere, but how do you align that when you are in a legal valid wedding and you are a legal valid business who took out a business license and you are going to refuse to serve that one segment of it? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like I said, I think it was predicated on wrong grounds. It was very frustrating to see it happen.
That's a good point, because...
Oh, hold on. I'm a little distracted.
Sorry, my husband walked
Hey,
in.
Sean.
Hey, Sean. That's a good point you bring up, because at what point, and I didn't really think about it this way until you put it in perspective a little bit. At one point does refusing service and a hate crime, like where does that mesh? You know what I mean? Mm. Because if you're a priest and you have a gay couple wanting to get married in your church, religiously, I believe, okay, it's against your religion. And I don't believe in that. But if that's what you believe, then you don't marry them in your church, right? But someone designing a website for somebody, where does the Bible say you can't make a website for a same-sex couple? Like, what religious belief is prohibiting you from making a website or baking a cake for somebody? And now you put it a little bit into perspective for me, because it's like, how far can you pull this religion card? You know what I mean? If you're in the business of religion, then I get it. Then that's then there's your you know.
So it's like Scott said too. Her websites, I didn't even look at them, but they're probably ugly. But also, a few years back, we dealt with the same kind of situation with a pizza place saying that they didn't want to cater to an LGBT wedding. First off, what gay person is getting pizza at their wedding? Let's be honest. maybe
like
the after party, but
I totally understand for no shoes, no service for restaurants. That's a health violation, right? There's reasons behind it. But for not creating a site, there has to be some kind of a harm to the person. I don't know what the harm is in your business model for creating something for a belief. There's a lot of things I don't believe in that I need to do as a business owner, right? So it's very hard to see where beliefs come in as far as the law goes, and I just wish it was predicated on a better system than that.
Yeah, I actually totally get that. Now, just a little bit of my background. I'm a business owner, so I look at things, as far as
everybody, if you're
goes.
playing NNF bingo, that's your free space. Chris just said, "I'm a business owner."
Well, I just want people to know where I'm thinking.
We all know.
So Scott doesn't know. All right. So I just want to, I always look at things as far as what I want the government coming and doing, whatever. Now, I don't believe in these rulings. My business is majority run by women and minorities, so it's I don't believe in any of this stuff that's being ruled. But to an extent, I get it. But now, kind of taking a step back from everything, it's kind of why wouldn't that be a hate crime? Why is religious freedom being ruled higher than a hate crime? I don't know. How can that not be a hate crime if you refuse service to someone because of being in the same sex?
I'm also of the same opinion, like you said. I think it comes back to the harm, right? What harm is being done to this person for having to make a website? What harm is it being done to me that I don't go to another website designer? So there's a little bit of that involved. So I don't know if I would necessarily put it a hate crime. My personal opinion. Maybe some people do. But but there's no damage to me either for you saying no. I can go to someone else. But it's the point of it that should you be allowed to say it? I don't know if I would. That's why I think it's discrimination more than it's a hate crime based.
Sure. Yeah. Better way to put it for sure. Yeah. Better way to put it for sure. I don't know. I hope I hope something like that is looked at in the future instead of the other way around, because I can definitely see both sides. And then there's obviously the age old argument is do we need to update this very old book of laws that we practice on? And we could go on and on and on about that. But it's a sad it's sad that a case like that gets the attention that it does, because and I talk about this a lot, how the media takes these stories and they just pound it into your head every week, and it divides people and stuff like this. And because the four of us can have a very civil conversation about this and understand all the points we're having, but a lot of the country doesn't know how to do that.
No.
And they're going to hear this story, and you're going to have these people going on their Facebooks and writing their opinions one way or the other, and you're going to have people losing friendships over it and being hateful over it, and then worshiping politicians because of it. You're gonna have politicians now taking this case and using it as a platform. It's a really sad time that we live in, especially with social media being as popular as it is, unfortunately.
Right.
All right. Now, before we go to break, I did just talk about social media and how it's super divisive. I'm on Twitter, and I follow a lot of the presidential candidates on both sides because I like to, keep up with them. So I get a tweet from Ron DeSantis, and it's an ad with the at the White House with Joe Biden blurred out, and you see in the background American flag, pride flag, American flag on the White House. Caption on the picture: when did we start accepting this as the norm? Join Team DeSantis to defeat the woke mind virus. Then it says, why have our federal leaders stood idly by why American children and adults have been told by the woke mob that we must accept that men can get pregnant? Join us to restore sanity. I saw that, and I was like, in what world do we live in? That's a presidential campaign. That's an ad for a serious presidential nominee. They are really sad. They are really
that's
sad.
His platform.
I know. Why?
DeSantis's platform is everything against the LGBTQ plus community.
How does that make you fit to be president? That's I see that, and I'm like, in what world has someone seen that? Oh man, I got to vote for that guy. He needs to be the leader of the free world. What?
I think that he saw that I think his whole strategy is back in 2016. The guy who won had major shock value and attacked all these groups and, whatever. And now he is trying to do the same,
but that's not.
But be more obvious about it.
But Trump did not attack the LGBT community. He didn't say
not right away.
He did
no. But no, that's what I'm saying.
Right away,
I didn't see ads like that from him.
Not as obvious. Yeah. It was very subtle. He signed some bill on Pride Day. He signed a bill, an anti-LGBTQ plus built on Pride Day.
But I didn't see like this is that ad. I've never seen an ad for a presidential nominee that's like that and because like he's got his hat in the race, right? But he still needs to compete for it. He's running ads like that, and that's
his
actually
platform.
helping him.
That's his platform. Why do you think he's going after Disney so hard? That is his platform.
I saw that. I was like, in what world do I live in that somebody's running ads like that and it's working? Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I don't know that it's working.
Well,
it's working for his base.
No, yeah, but that's still scary. That's still scary. Yeah. I'm not saying he's going to be president, but I'm saying it's helping him. Like, he's running ad. Like, he's not dumping money into that ad because it's not working. You know what I mean? Like, he's obviously getting good reactions to that. It's
that's the saddest part. A lot of these people are running on dividing the country as opposed to uniting the country. Yes. That hasn't been done in a long time. Even on Democratic side, I'm a tried and true Democrat all the way through, but everyone's getting into their little niche and everyone's telling what's wrong with the other party instead of what we can all do to make it together, right? Mm-hmm. But DeSantis is big time. That's his big platform, as Scott says. It's like his is all about divisiveness, and he's just one that says out loud what everyone else is trying to sneak through. So
yeah, it's really sad. Before we get to Scott's summaries in our last segment, I do want to say I was a little nervous going over to Germany wearing like a Pride shirt because I didn't know. Nick brought it to my attention that it's, you don't like, it's not safe everywhere. Like people don't, treat, people in the LGBTQ plus community the same. And I was very pleasantly surprised by how welcoming it was over there. Go ahead, Scott.
No, Chris, 100%. So I wear my We Say Gay shirt a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it's the closest that I will ever get to feeling what Nick feels, on a daily basis, because I'm very loudly saying in this pink shirt, "We say gay." Am I gonna get beat up for it?
Exactly. Especially where you live.
And it's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like my Lenten sacrifice, if you will. For those of you who are Catholic, the 40 days of 40 nights of giving up something. It's like that is my way to walk in the shoes of someone from the LGBTQ plus community.
Okay, so you punish yourself
for like a minute.
So you punish yourself by pretending you're gay.
No, I don't know. It's not.
That came out wrong.
Anyway,
gotcha.
Well, I mean, and that's what's so funny. I mean, we were talking about Nick and his husband holding hands. That's an act of defiance, holding someone's hand. It's ridiculous what is known as act. Wearing a pink T-shirt, whether it says "say gay" or just a pink T-shirt, you never know what your reaction is going to be to different people. So it's amazing what contributes to an act of defiance in these times and what it has in a long time. So it's very crazy.
Pretty cool, quote unquote, act of defiance. Before we go to break, like I said, 45 times because I keep just thinking of things to say. I mentioned this to Nick and Scott, but I feel like our listeners should hear it too. So when I was over in Germany, I was at the concentration camp. It was called Dachau. And there were people that were in prison there for being homosexual. And in Germany, until I think 1996, it was not illegal to be gay, but it was illegal to have sex with another man. So it was like, so basically, and I'm laughing because it's ridiculous, not laughing because it's funny. So people that were in the concentration camp at Dachau had to wear a pink triangle to identify themselves as homosexual. And sad part of the story, before I get to the cool part of the story, is that when they were liberated from the concentration camps, they were taken back to jail because they were still breaking the law, which is like super sad to hear. So anyway, that pink triangle, that pink color became symbolic in the gay community. And there was this event in Miami and everyone wore pink because of that concentration camp in Dachau, because it was the pink symbol that they had to wear. So they took it and they wore it as a show of pride instead of shame, which I thought was really, really cool to just hear the origin of that. Just wanted to share that. I thought that was kind of cool.
Awesome.
That's very cool.
So
there's a lot of gay history out there that a lot of us don't know about. And there's a couple podcasts now coming on and talking about it. It's really exciting to see, because that's the one thing our youth is missing out on. We talk about the youth of our straight allies supporting us, right? It's like no big deal to them. They're all supporting us. Our youth, the LGBT youth, doesn't know our history and doesn't understand it, and they take for granted a lot of these things, right? They don't understand what it's like to have to go into the back door, the back alley to get into a club to go dancing or do a lot of things. So it's very much a very strange juxtaposition to see the two younger generations and what they see as far as gay rights go.
Absolutely. And I hope that one day we reach to a point in public schools where, gay rights are just taught there right up there with the segregation period and civil rights and everything. I hope that, because I never learned about Stonewall. I just
hope we get to the point real quick. I just hope we get to the point where there's no such thing as gay rights, black rights, it's just all human rights. Yeah. And let's consider everybody a human and make sure that everybody has the same rights as everybody else.
Absolutely. Well, glad you heard something sentimental from Scott, because it's about to get way darker. We'll be right back with our new friends After Dark.
Hey, you want to join a cult? Well, this might be your lucky day. For just $2 a month and a simple blood oath, you can join our clubhouse and become a friend with benefits. In addition to the amazing feeling of donating to the poor, you will have access to Patreon exclusive content, live shows, and maybe even a behind-the-scenes look at my secret stash. To get started, head on over to NoNewFriendsPodcast.com and hit join our clubhouse. Can't wait to see you at the initiation ceremony. Oh, and in the chat during our live shows, of course.
All right, strap on or strap down, or do whatever you want. It's time for Scott's summary.
Definitely After Dark. Goodness.
Yeah. Chris is talking about strap-ons and all that.
Sorry.
I think that would excite our lesbian audience.
Well,
I don't know.
Welcome.
All right, so I do have some summaries.
I was supposed to ask you if you had any. Yeah.
I do. We don't do the jingle. I don't have a cute jingle like you do. The host hates me. Yeah. So most of these I wrote. Game Master Ryan helped me with a couple of these. So here we go. Scott said, he stopped podcasting. And it was once you get off the horse, it's tough to get back on. For Chris, once he gets on the horse, it's tough for the horse to do anything after that. Speaking of Chris, it's really good to have Chris back. Really good. He's a real stand-up guy. Well, at least he used to be a stand-up guy. Now the gout makes him a sit-on-his ass guy.
No.
Scott said he touches on a lot of things with his podcast. Nick wishes Chris would touch a lot of his things.
He doesn't have to wish.
Chris talked about how Nick and Chris have gotten so comfortable with each other. Chris, I think you're getting more comfortable since recently you're FaceTiming while you're in the shower.
It's true. Yeah, it's with Scott.
Nick is doing PowerPoint presentations to teach Gay 101. Nick has been trying to make Chris take power bottom lessons as often as he can.
That was a good one.
I love when Chris hosts. I really do. It takes a lot of the pressure off me. I can just kind of sit back and all that. His questions, however, I don't know if you've noticed this, just take forever. It takes him longer to land the plane than my pilots flying back from Arlington. Chris says he's a business owner. Chris, I really don't think stealing copper pipes from people's houses is considered a business.
To each their own, man.
And finally, we talked a little bit, just the tip about Chris NNF Bingo. For those of you playing at home, make sure you mark off, I'm a business owner, I'm a minority. But I'm sorry, if you were waiting for I'm a history major, you probably lost. Those are my summaries.
Did you know I was a history major, Scott?
No, there it is. All right, mark off the history major thing. Yes, I know.
Just making sure. It's a useless degree.
Your favorite class was on West Africa.
I need to talk about it as much as possible because that's the only time I ever use it. That's what I'm talking about on this damn podcast.
Yeah, you've used your history major more on this podcast than any other time in your life.
I have. It's true. It took me longer to hang it up on my wall than it did to do anything else.
Use contact paper.
I'm loving this segment, though. I think you should have a little bit of flame running along the bottom and let it just blow up to whoever you're burning. That's kind of
that's cute. I like that.
You might add the flame. I like that.
Chris, get on that.
I'd just be roasted. All right. First of all, I just want to thank Scott from the Left of Str8 podcast so much for joining us tonight. Now, any of our listeners listening right now, which if they're listening, then yes, they are in fact listeners. Where can they find you?
The easiest thing is to go to the Left of Str8 website, www.leftofstr8.com, and that's spelled LEFTOFSTR and the number 8.com. It has all our social medias. It has all of our recent listings for it. We're on YouTube, all the regular places.
Awesome. Sounds good. It was a pleasure having you. It was really, really great conversations we had, the four of us. Thank you for taking the time out and coming on.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I had the pleasure of meeting Scott beforehand, and you and Nick have been a pleasure to talk to. This is the gayest straight show I've ever been on. I'm absolutely loving every second of it. So very, very cool.
I've turned it pretty gay.
Take that as a compliment. I love it. Yes.
And I help.
Scott, it's so funny. It's so funny. After Nick's first couple episodes, I was like, okay, we can do this and this. And he goes, we don't have to turn this into a super gay podcast. I was like, yes, we do. I want it to be a super gay podcast.
I'm still trying to do a musical episode with the guys, but
oh my gosh. You're the one that doesn't even know musicals.
I like it.
One notch above. We'll figure it out. So anyway, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening. On behalf of myself, Scott Squared, and Nick, get it, Scott Squared, because there's two of you. No, I gotta separate you guys. Scott from the No New Friends podcast, and Scott from the Left of Str8 podcast, and Nick. I'm Chris. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Anybody listening at home, thank you so much for listening. Conversations like these are super important, and I'm glad that you guys all got to hear it. If you like conversations like these, have some with your peers. They're lots of fun. Just don't yell or make Facebook statuses about them. Just do podcasts on them. Or just listen to ours. I don't care. Listen to us. I think I've decided. Listen to us. Scott, I'm going off the rails. I forgot how to end it.
What else is new?
I forgot how to end it. It's been too long, Scott. You've been listening to it. Please just clean.
Oh, Chris is back.
You'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not editing it. I don't.
That's
care.
why I host and I don't edit.
I love it.
I didn't even drink tonight. So now we know it's not the alcohol.
You're really good at ending the very serious episodes. You're really bad at ending the funny episodes.
Yeah. This has been bad.
No New Friends After Dark has been brought to you by Sandpiper Vacations. SandpiperVacations.com. Just check out our website, NoNewFriendsPodcast.com. Become a friend with benefits. Check out our sweet merch and so much more. This has been a No New Friends Entertainment LLC production.